but the observer of me was watching me doing it, being like, there's something in this that you need to remember. He was like, what were you doing with your arms? Because I'd be like, or like I'd be like, I'm a crab now, and I'd be like, what the hell? Like, if anybody actually is in my head, they think she's absolutely lost it.
Leighanne is a guide, and she is here to help you witness the power that you have inside. She is on a journey to explore her inner and outer worlds after selling her 6-figure business and traveling around from Mexico to Peru all over the globe.
The conversations that need to be had. Intuition by Max.
So I'm here with the amazing Leighann. Is it Regan or Regan?
Regan.
Regan, yeah. Leighann Regan, and we have been connected very recently actually, and I was on her podcast, and so definitely go and check that out as well. But Leighann is just incredible with everything she does, and I love all the content you've been posting and all this healing journey you've been on, and that's why we had to come here today. And we were just talking about connecting in Mexico as well. She's just a vibrant soul, a vibrant being, so that's why I had to have her on. So Leighann, you have been on a very healing journey recently, haven't you?
I have, yeah. Thank you so much for having me on as well, Max. Really
it's my pleasure. It's my pleasure.
Yeah, my journey's been pretty interesting over the last couple of years. Oh, well, my whole life really, but the last couple of years has been like, my life has been interesting. But the last couple of years, yeah, definitely. Yeah. So,
because I was gonna say, in your bio on Instagram, you sold your business and you just went screw it and just moved. That is courage. I want to actually start there. How did you get the balls to do that? Because that takes a lot.
Yeah. In all honesty, like I think whenever you write something in a bio and it is like power, like it feels like it's this like one decision was made and then that was that, but it's not. It's like a build-up of many experiences and many decisions. So, being in the experience that led me up to that. So if you start like with that. So I had a business, which I loved. Like I really loved what I did. I had a really great team. It was very successful. It was on, good money. Everything was good. And I was actually looking at, prior to the pandemic, I already knew that there was like a level of alignment. This was before like the pandemic even hit. Like my intuition was like, I was considering investing in the business, like the location that I was in. And then something just didn't feel right. And I thought that was, I'm going to go to another location. Like I don't like being, because I was in the city centre.
Another location for your shop. You're a hairdresser, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And because I already knew like the environment weren't quite fitting in. So there was these like intuitive thoughts already. And that was making me think, right, okay, I've always wanted to be by the water. I love being by the water, I love being about nature. And I loved the idea of having a team and like focusing on their well-being so they can have space. That's always been part of like what I did like with the team, was like focus on their well-being and making sure they're happy and they're creatively, comfortable and taking on their ideas and stuff like that. That's why I started the business. So there was already things that were out of alignment, and then I've always been in self-development like yourself. Yeah. But then I think through having a team, through having the business, I was more invested in that. So I'd started working with like NLP, and getting those qualifications. And then during COVID, I was like, brilliant, this is actually, because I was thinking about doing the wellbeing stuff, or like maybe getting another space and making it even more of a wellbeing centre. I was like, right, okay, I'm going to use this time, rather than moaning about the fact that my business is shut, I'm going to use this time to really invest into my knowledge of self-development.
Love that.
I did another NLP course, did a timeline therapy, which is like a hypnotherapy. Loads of different modalities, like muscle testing. But then whilst I was doing that, and basically whilst the pandemic was happening, and I've always been very spirited in terms of like knowing what's possible for people, and I've always had that about me. And I think what was happening as I was learning stuff, there was like the reality of what was happening in the world was showing me what was super important to me, and I was learning this stuff. And all these things were going on, and like being in it, it's easy on reflection to tell the story, but like to be in it felt so chaotic and so messy. And I knew that there was a lot of things I needed to bring my awareness to, because there were things about what I was even setting myself up for that no longer felt exciting to me.
Yeah.
There was other things that felt more important. Didn't know what that looked like. So through that time of chaos, I was like, I need help to manage like clarity here. Like I don't, and my self-development tools were not working quite as well as, or like they just weren't working in the same way. I was like, I need something else, like novelty, something I don't know. I need something outside of my knowledge base.
Yeah.
So I reached out to like a spiritual coach. She did a program that basically like worked with, you know, clearing your chakras. You're working kind of like with different energy centers, and there was like journaling prompts. It was 8 weeks. Basically, you're with her for 8 weeks through this experience where she helps you gain more clarity on whatever your intention is. And through that experience, one, I was just, like so intrigued by her and her energy, because she just so knew who she was. So that was just being in her space was very transformative.
100%.
But then also, as I was going through that process, I didn't want the business to open back up.
Right.
So, and that was like massive, because I was, you know, like,
I bet that was scary as well, wasn't it? Because it's what
because it's my business and I love it as well.
Yeah.
And also I had the responsibility of the others, which is something that like I care a lot about. But so my mind could have got through it, but my energy, which is something I was tuning into a lot, was recognizing like each time they delay the lockdown, I'm happy about that.
Right.
Why is that?
Right.
You know what I mean? So there was these like things that kept happening. That whole process was really intense. Like, I feel like I don't know how far down the rabbit hole to take you, because there was so much, and I don't know if I'm even going to go off.
Go down it. Like,
okay, I'm just going to follow the flow.
Yeah, because go on.
Yeah, so my boyfriend. So when I opened me and my boyfriend have always been massive risk takers. So when we bought our house, we bought like a project to renovate, because we knew that there was like potential to earn good money. So we bought this house. And we were renovating that. 6 months into that, he decided, he was like, I think I want to start my own business working with, so what he used to do is like fragrance premium hotels and events and stuff like that. So like Katy Perry's concerts and like hotels and stuff, but he did it for another company, and he was like, I'm really good at this, so I'm thinking about starting up my own business with his dad. And I was like, yeah, do it, you know, like, why not? You've got nothing to lose.
Yeah.
So he did that, and then like 3 months later, I was like, I think I'm going to quit my job. And I was freelancing at the time, so I was always self-employed, but I traveled a lot, and I was like, I think I want to open a studio. So he was like, I mean, we've literally like put it all on the line, so what's one more thing? So I was just like, okay. So this was the position. This is often like what we do. So it was all like all engines go at that time. It was really exciting. It was great. But then basically during the pandemic, he was in, I won't get into this too much because it's his story, but he was in a business relationship with his dad, and the business had took off like massive. It was super successful. But something happened. Well, basically like his dad, him and his dad had different ways of wanting to move the business forward, and they just couldn't get it right.
The alignment wasn't there.
I don't want to get into that too much because it's not my story to share. But what was interesting about that time is he was so down, because he felt like he tried everything, and it was getting to the point where he was like, I've got to either walk away, and there's so much money and effort in this business, like I've sacrificed my life for 3 years and it's super successful, or I keep going, but I don't know if I can do it. Like, I actually don't think I want to anymore, because I know what I'm up against all the time, and it's not good for me.
And then you build a resentment with your dad, which
it was not a good place. And like there literally was every angle. And obviously at the same time I was learning the coaching stuff, so I was doing all these things with him to kind of help him gain clarity. And then through that process I was like, this is so helpful for people, because I was seeing how it was literally like helping him in such a big way. And then so even that was like so crazy, but so in the end he decided to walk away from it, and it was really hard on him, but it was the best thing that he ever did.
Hardest decisions always turn out to be the best decisions, don't they? Yeah.
Sorry, actually, that was just before the pandemic hit. Sorry, that was a lie. It was just before the pandemic hit, because then the hospitality was shut, which is his business. So he was like, oh my God, thank God. Yeah, and then so basically he was then, the pandemic hit and he was like, I have no idea like what I'm gonna do because I don't have a job. And he, you know, the timing was just like wild, but we were very positive, so like we always find a way, there's something to do. He like years ago did landscape gardening, and it was like, I'm just gonna start doing that for people. So he did that during the pandemic,
Right.
and at the same time he started to learn crypto and trading and stuff. So that was like, he was on his own journey, right? So that had showed me, through that process of helping him, that had just shown me like how powerful the tools are.
Definitely.
And like what people experience and stuff. So that had happened with him, and then I was kind of noticing more and more that, you know, the business wasn't aligned, but I was like, what does this mean? Because I'm the one at the moment that has like the secure job. Do you know, like how, like, I don't even know how this is going to look. And then during the COVID period, I had a friend who committed suicide. And I had a really weird experience. So basically on the Monday night, I'd started doing coaching online. It was going really well, but for my industry, so like for hairdressers and stuff.
Right.
And I was buzzing. I had such a good day. I was like super excited. I had really high energy, and I was tapping into like how to utilize this energy and learning about that. And my boyfriend thought he had COVID, so he was in the other room in case that like he did or whatever. And I went into the bedroom and I just had this sensation that was like this like dark entity in the room.
Wow.
I don't know what it was, but all of a sudden I felt really scared. And I'd gone from my body being really like high energy and shaky and me being like, oh my God, I must just be buzzing, like excited, to something doesn't feel right. And I'd not experienced that sensation before.
Right.
Anyway, I woke my boyfriend up and I was like, I don't know why, but I feel scared. Like, can you come back into the room? So he was like, yeah. And he kept saying like, what's going on? I was like, I don't know. I'm going to ask the spiritual coach, which is Georgina Knoll. And I was like, I'm going to get in touch with her and see like if she has
any answers. Yeah.
So the next day I did, and she said, you know, maybe just cleanse your space, like protect yourself, like nothing can hurt you, blah, 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 you know. So I was like, right, okay. So I went and got some stuff to go and do that, and went to the salon. And I went to the studio and it told, because it opened up for like a little period at that time. It's one of the breaks or whatever. I went into the studio and told the guys about the experience, and I started cleansing the studio as well. And then the next day I found out that my friend had committed suicide that night that I had the experience. So that then for me was like, what just happened? Like, was there a connection? What did I experience him? Like, because it didn't feel like him. I had no awareness of that whatsoever, but it did feel like something
was up. Yeah,
something was up. Like I just knew. So then basically that was it. Then that was like, I'm in this world now, and I need to know. You need to more.
Well, because ironically, all of this stuff that I'm talking about, my podcast is based on intuition, and from a lot of the stuff you've just spoken about is you've got quite clear intuition, which I feel like society blocks most people's intuition. Do you know what I mean? They tend to, like, even down to things like the food the stuff they consume, like all that kind of stuff, the people they listen to, like kids have a natural intuition, and it sounds like you've got quite a good intuition for, like you said, to take measured but risky decisions. Because, do you know what I mean, you didn't just all of a sudden just go, right, that's it, I'm stopping everything. You took logical action and put things in place which got you to where you are based on your intuition, which is I love that. I love that's where this conversation is going, because it's really it's like when you said it was giving me shivers now. That's fine.
Yeah. Then looking back, the way that and how I go about my life now, because obviously you're in the chaos and I'm learning these skills. Like I've always been me, so I'm good at that. I know how to utilize like whatever my behavior is, but now I could probably tell somebody else how to do it, if that makes sense. Definitely. So then what was just happening is the more I was getting involved in the energy work, so I went and learned Reiki, which was like my first thing. So I did like level 1 and 2 in that, and I never went to do it with other people. I went to do it because I was like,
for
what
yourself?
is it? How does it work?
Oh, really?
Like, tell me. Yeah, because I've always been into
Just
ancient
curious.
wisdom. Yeah, super curious. Like,
Love that.
I never was like, I'm going to be a Reiki healer, but I was drawn to it. I really trusted the guy, liked the guy. And that is my theme. I don't need to know the outcome to follow through with something.
You can just get started. That's
feel,
powerful.
Yeah, so if my intuition or my energy is like, go here, I've experienced enough in my life to know that that's a stepping stone to something I can't see yet. That's fine.
Can I just ask you this, because this is something that so many people struggle with? How, because I made a video on this the other day saying, like, how do you truly know something? And the way you know something is like, well, how do you know you're going to breathe? How do you know you love someone? Like, there's something inside you that just tells you. What is that? How would you explain to someone? Because so many people, especially now, they don't have faith that the world's going to open back up. They don't have that they're fear-mongered by so many things. They're told that you're going to die. Like, there's so many things out there that are just forcing like people to literally hide in their shell. How does Leighanne know that right, I'm just going to go with it, and what's meant to happen will happen? Because I've got that philosophy. Like, I wouldn't change anything I've been through. Like, I thought about this the other day. Everything I've been through, I wouldn't change a thing. Like, if I had the choice to go back and rewind time and actually change it, I wouldn't. Even the things that made me anxious, and even my insecurities, that I wouldn't change them, because I think everything was on purpose. How would you explain that to someone, to know that they can follow through with their intuition if they're struggling with it? Because maybe there was a point that you did struggle with it.
Yeah, it's I don't know if this is going to fully answer it, but this is the thing that came to me as you were speaking. I've often described it like this to my parents, where I say to them, you know when you're on holiday and you're at the bar together and you've had a really nice day and the sun's out and you're just free and you feel good and you're like, life is good.
There's no worries.
And then you share ideas.
Yes.
And you're like, maybe we could do this, or maybe we could sell the house, or maybe we could do this, and you get excited about that, and you're like, maybe we could do that.
Yeah.
I'm like, remember what that feels like, because it feels like different in your body. It feels energized. It feels exciting. It feels like love. You know what I mean? And
that's
like,
interesting.
If it doesn't feel like that, then when you're making a decision, if it doesn't feel like high energy, if it doesn't, then one thing, there's a couple of different things, but this was the first thing that came to me. Then one thing that I would always do is prioritize getting myself in a state where I feel my best. So that could be somebody like go for a run. So if I'm like sitting on a decision and I'm like confused or overwhelmed, or I don't know what feels good or what doesn't, what's my intuition, what's fear, I'm like, do something I love right now and then see how I feel after. Like, go for a run, go out in nature, go and meditate, whatever, like, because you know that instantly puts you in a higher vibe. Yeah. Or you can just do breath work and calm your nervous system down and deregulate nervous system, like. But my thing was, before I knew all this stuff, because like you were saying before, like, our bodies have an intelligence that we don't really have to know. Like, we don't need to know how our heart beats. We'll always find a way. So my way before the knowledge, or before finding these ways, was like, I'd go for a run, I'd use my imagination, and like on those runs I'd imagine all the things, like, and it would just make me feel good. So I'm like, well, there's something in that, because if it makes me feel good, then there's something there. There's something there. So I would get a lot of my intuition after a run. Right, interesting. So you figured something that worked for you, and then you use that. Yeah, until I used it until that didn't work anymore. So it was kind of like, that tool served its purpose, and then whenever, this is kind of my theme throughout my life, all these tools are useful and they can help for different things at different times, and I think that naturally we get drawn to things at different times. So for example, at the moment I'm really drawn to dancing, and that's teaching me a lot of things, that sort of stuff. Love that. But you can take that tool as far as you need it. And so I'm not somebody that's like starts running and then thinks, but I'm a runner now, I have to continue running. I run for as long as it's serving its purpose. Or when I know no one wants to do it, I don't do it. Yeah, love that. You know what I mean? Like, what am I drawn to now? So, but that's always been confusing, because people would always be like, God, you just give up stuff all the time. And I'm like, it doesn't feel like that for me. But I realized that these things are, I know the word for that. My sister, she's just started doing a lot of content on social media as well now. And it's called a multi-potentialite, someone who basically can't, and she, like she was saying,
it doesn't mean you can't not focus on one thing, but you need to do different things because you intuitively feel like, right, running is what I want to do now. Then you're like, oh, actually now I want to do yoga. And like, you don't stick to one thing, and you're never the best at this, but you're good at these, if that makes sense. So yeah, multi-potentialite, if anyone. I'll shout out to my sister for finding that out. It was not me finding it.
Yeah, and the way that I like express that as well is that so like, say for example, the things that I do are never that consistent, but the themes within the things are always the same. So like for example, my theme, it's just your values, right? So like my themes are like freedom of expression, like joy. Expression is like such a massive thing for me, because these are the things that I think that our soul knows that we're capable of. So the modalities that I do in my day-to-day life, like if I'm going to running or I get drawn to different things, I think that they just help me to energetically be where I need to be.
Definitely.
In order to get to that next step. So like, I'm not really into yoga, but sometimes I'm like, oh, I'm going to go to yoga, and then they'll do a certain position with my hips or something, and then I'll get an idea, and I'm like, that's why I'm here. You know what I mean? Like, this whole practice is because I needed that piece of information, and it's like it was tuned to that part of my body or whatever. Like, you just don't know. But I know enough, and I've experienced enough to kind of just trust that it works.
Definitely. Well, what you said about like being on holiday, that reminded me of a time I was on holiday and what sparked my whole trip to Bali. So in 2018, I went to Bali for 2 months. Intentionally, I was going out there I wanted to open a retreat, but then I realized to start a business in Bali, it needs to be 20% Balinese owned. Like, there's so many, you have to pay all your tax up front for the year. Like, it's ridiculous. So I was like, yeah, nah, screw that. And it guided me on my process. But I was in Turkey 2 months before, and I was just like, you know what? I really want to go to Bali. I want to go for 2 months. I was like, I wasn't working at the time. I literally just quit my job. And I was like, screw it. What's the worst that can happen? I live out there very cheaply because it's very cheap. But when you said that, you said when it's just a good idea, it's just a good idea. I've never heard it put in that way, but now I've heard it put in that way. I'm gonna use that all the time. Like, how did I know that Bali was a good idea? Because actually, no, tell a lie. At the time, I was running a business with a friend. That's what I was doing. So we just started a business, and it was a social media marketing agency, and we just started signing clients. Like, we literally just started making some money, and it was a few thousand a month. And that was like, I was even like, wow, we're actually doing it. But then I just thought, I just want to go and travel. And it was a big thing because I didn't have much cash, if I'm honest. We had to split the cash between us, and we also had to sort of tell our clients that we weren't running the business anymore. So it was a bit of a, but it was the best thing that happened. And we're still friends to this day. But that understanding and feeling that I remember being in the pool in Bali, in Turkey, just going, yeah, you know what, screw it. I'm just going to go. Like, what's the worst that can happen? And if you can move into that energy, and I love that you said that it's something physical, like you said, breath work, whether it's breath work, it's still a physical act. Meditation, it's still kind of a physical act. It doesn't have to be like intense, like 10K runs, but something that just gets the energy flowing. And you now are you a Qigong teacher, or you're training?
Yeah, I'm not qualified yet, but nearly.
Right. Yeah. But like that, I suppose some form of physical activity, breath work or anything, you're moving the chi around your body. But yeah, that's incredible. And I want to go into Qigong and that stuff, because I love Qigong. It is my favorite thing. How long have you been doing the teacher training for?
So I started it when I come back. I actually started it when I came back from Costa Rica, because so in August I went to Costa Rica and did the ayahuasca.
Right.
And basically in that experience, I was never sick, but what ayahuasca taught me, so what ayahuasca taught me on the first day was to dance, but it wasn't like normal dancing. But so the actual vision was she was sat in front of me and she was like showing me shapes to pull. So I just follow her, and I was like in a weird like state or whatever. But like, I was in the experience, obviously, doing those things, but the observer of me was watching me doing it, being like, there's something in this that you need to remember.
Wow. What, the dancing specifically?
Yeah, like the movement. It was like the movement, and because I knew, so basically what was happening in my body, especially when they sang, because they come over and they do the Icaros, like the singing, and
Yes.
the vibration was so high when they'd get like two people away from you either side, that it was unbearable in my body.
Wow.
Like that's when people would start being sick. So what would happen? I was like so excited for it because I love the songs and you get the wisdom. Like when they came around and sing, because there was two of them, so there was a big circle like this, and how they sing is like that.
Right.
So each person, so you get it twice, this experience.
Got you.
Twice, but like for a period of time, because you hear the songs the whole time, but it's bearable when they're not close to you. It's so wild, this. It's like, it's honestly like blows my mind every time I talk about it. But then, yeah, when they get like two people either side of you on their mats and they start singing to those people, because they give you individual songs based on what you need. So the people either side of that will all start being sick at that time, because it's just wild. So I'm like dancing like a lunatic, because the energy in my body is so high that if I don't get it out, I don't know what's going to happen. You know what I mean? It's like my body is like move now, so I'm like moving.
Wow.
So on the first night, I was out of it when I got taught this, like, as in I remember it and I was there, but I wasn't in the room when I had this experience of her teaching me. So I didn't know really why, like, but I just knew I had to move.
Right.
I learned later that it was because it helps move the energy. Yeah.
Right.
And then there was another part of it that was wild, where I recognized I was pulling animal shapes.
Wow.
At certain periods, and also I was having the thought, so I was pulling animal shapes, and I don't know why I was doing it. My body just knew what to do. It was so weird. And like, I'll give you one example. There was one point where she was doing it, and I knew that I was like a spider, like my legs are moving. I was like, if anyone's watching me right now, thank God it's dark. You know what I mean? Because like Thomas, who was next to me on the mat, and Thomas, if you ever listen to this, like we laughed so much. He was like, what were you doing with your arms? Because I'd be like, or like I'd be like, I'm a crab now, and I'd be like, what the hell? Like, if anybody actually is in my head, they'd think she's absolutely lost it.
Yeah.
So I was very open, and I didn't want to judge any part of the experience. I was like, really lean into everything that is saying for you to do, and just like be here with an absolute curiosity. Like, this is weird.
Be a crab.
What is going on? You know what I mean? I was like, what? So there was literally two versions of me. The person in the experience just being like, okay, let's go with this then. And then the other one being like, what does this mean? Like, what's going on? You know, so it's very intense experience. But anyway, there was one part of it where I remember, I think this was, it was the third night, because I had a really intense experience on the first and third night. Third night, I was like, my body was so tired. I felt like I'd been put through energetic war. I was in an energetic war. That was my third experience. And everything leading up to that was to teach me how I can manage it, like the dancing and stuff.
Wow. It
was amazing. And but it was really hard. It was really taxing on my body. Like my spirit left my body twice on the third night. And even that experience was like, wow, like this could happen. But anyway, when she was singing her song to me, I remember thinking, I can't wait for you to stop, because I can't, my body is so tired. I'm so tired, and I just can't wait for you to stop. And I remember saying like, just help, can somebody help me, because I don't know if I can keep like awake. Like, I don't know what it was, but there was just something where I was like, I need help, this is too hard. And then all of a sudden my body went from moving legs to being like a praying mantis, and I knew that I was a praying mantis.
Wow.
I just stopped, and I was like,
you just still.
It was just completely still.
Wow.
And then she kind of like crawled up to me. It was creepy as anything. And she just blew like into my head, and I just had a wave of peace, and then I was asleep.
Wow.
And the next day I Googled
beautiful.
praying mantis, and it was like stillness, peace,
wow.
and all this. And I was like, what the hell? And there was so many different parts of like what I was thinking about in the animal shape, and I would search the symbolism after of the animal, and I was like, it's perfectly related to what I was experiencing. So I knew there was something in it. So coming back to tie this off to your question, Qigong, I had to isolate after Costa Rica, and I was like, and I've always been into martial arts. That's actually been something that I've always been consistent with. When I was younger, I did taekwondo. And yeah, and so that's been a consistent thing. And it had been coming up before I went to Costa Rica. Like, I feel like I'm going to get into that again. So that was there, like an intuitive thought, like something to do with martial arts. So then I started just searching martial arts, animal shapes, martial arts, animals, martial art, animal movement, breath, like just these things, because there was nothing that made sense other than these were the words that were connecting in my head. So I just Googled them together and Qigong came up.
Wow.
So I was like, okay, I feel this is the thing that I'm being drawn to right now. Doing. So I sat with that, and then in isolation, I was like, well, might as well start because I'm here. And so I started it then, and there's I love the practice, and again, I don't learn it to teach. I'm not learning it to teach it, although I have introduced it into like my groups and stuff.
Yes.
I just really enjoy learning about how did this philosophy even begin? Like, how does it work on the body, and then experiencing it for myself and stuff. And
it serves you, doesn't it?
So yeah, exactly.
And it serves you massively. Because I've gone.
Sorry, I was going to say there's still so much in terms of the theory that I really need to get my head around. Like, there's in the system that I've learned, there's like 4 different methods, and the one that I think I'm probably going to use the most is Heaven and Earth, which is like quite a short system, and you can just use sounds and things like that. So that's to do with like the elements. Right. And that's like, that's probably the one that I'm going to use the most at the moment until I can fully make sure that, because some of the other exercises, it's like your pressure points, making sure that you're standing when you're leaning and you're breathing, you're like your weight is evenly planted and things like that. And there's still some of these movements that I'm not confident with. But the elements one I'm fairly confident with now. So,
that is also something that I think comes over time. Do you know what I mean? Because like I've done quite a lot of yoga. When I went to Bali, I was doing yoga every day for 2 months, like hot yoga, normal yoga. I loved it. But recently I've just sort of fallen out of love with it. I used to be able to do the splits. Like, I was really flexible. But I've sort of fallen in love with Qigong because it doesn't take long to do. Like, you can do a 10-minute practice, and honestly, that's so good for me. Like, I do probably Qigong 2-3 times a week. If I'm really feeling it, I'll do it every day. But I do 10-15 minutes, and I kid you not, it's just like one of my favorite things. And I made a video on it about the shake the tree sort of thing, where you're just shaking all that energy out. Like, that itself, that has a massive effect. And energy work, I absolutely love that. And what you said earlier, because your ayahuasca experience sounds incredible. Mine was awful, but I'm very keen on. I love plant medicine. I think we all have a different teacher. I'm going to do psilocybin, so I'm going to do some mushrooms soon. And I think ayahuasca just. Have you done mushrooms?
Yeah.
You have. What was your experience like with that?
Great. Like,
was it?
Yeah, really good.
Because I'm looking to do it. When we connect in Mexico, you're gonna have to sort me out with someone who does it.
Definitely. That would be absolutely fine. I've actually been wanting to post these, but I feel like I'm just not. Maybe if I do like a Patreon or something. So basically, what I noticed the first time I did it was the energy was like so high. So I was like moving and stuff. But then I realized actually I wanted to share what I was seeing as I was seeing it, rather than wait until after. So I put my voice recorder on.
Wow.
For 9 hours.
Wow.
I was talking about just like, it was all about choice. It's so weird because then like 2 weeks after that experience, it was so relevant to what I needed to talk about with people. But it literally showed me like what happens like on a universal scale when people make choice. And so I was just explaining it. And then so basically since then, and this is something that like, you could maybe try if you felt called to, but like put the voice recorder on when you have the experience and
I'd
just
video myself.
talk to yourself, because I felt like, yeah, like, because it was kind of like, because I was expressing it as it was happening, it wasn't repeating the same stuff, because it's like I'd acknowledged it.
Right.
So there was so much information. I was like, this is such a good hack. Like everyone should voice record and they do it. Anyway, it's really good.
Well, I'd be keen on, because I'm so open with my stuff, and I'm not like, I'd love to video myself and just explain what an experience is. I feel like ayahuasca is a lot different because it's a purge. Like no one really wants to watch it. Like it's a bit grim. But yeah, no, I'd be keen on that. We'll definitely have to chat about that. But what you said about the animal shapes and stuff like that. Oh, my camera's gone out of focus. There we go. What you said about the animal shapes, I found really interesting, because you also said that the body just knows where to go and what to do. And recently I've been talking about how our body is our subconscious mind. I mean, the reason we live our habits is because it's a habitual, and our body is, in scientific terms, our subconscious mind. And our body heals itself, like a tattoo. Like, have you got any tattoos?
Yeah, only small ones on my back.
But like any tattoo, it cuts open the skin, then it heals itself. It's like you don't have to sit there and go, right, I want my arm to heal, I want my arm to heal, I want my arm to heal, I want my tattoo to heal, whatever. The body knows how to heal itself. And what my philosophy was if the body knows how to heal itself, does the subconscious mind know how to heal itself? And like the body putting you into those shapes is effectively putting you into that healing process. And all it takes is just observing it to go, I wonder what this is actually telling me, which then gives you the idea to go, let me research this, let me find it out. And then, like you said, it resonated perfectly. And it's all down to just getting your conscious mind, analytical mind out the way, and having such a powerful experience that has now created a memory that you'll never forget, right?
Yeah, 100%. And even like little things like I'm very, through that experience, and then all like just being here and so many other things, but nature in the universe is literally talking to you all the time. So this is kind of a bit weird, it's a bit off topic, but basically like recently I've been exploring very by accident, well, not by accident, it just keeps coming up. So people keep talking to me about murderers recently, and then I had a podcast where basically it was quite dark, but it was really informative. Where a woman had worked with like in social care and prisoners, so she talks about a different way of approaching it than the system kind of allows, and why she's passionate about that. And then also a woman whose basically husband had been murdered, but then people that have had spiritual experiences when their family members have been murdered and stuff. So she's kind of exploring that. So there's something that's taking me down this route at the moment, and I don't know where it's going to go. This is like my intuition path at the moment. I don't know what's happening. So anyway, I was kind of like, there's something that's like telling me to explore these. It kind of feels like dark, but to kind of like go there a little bit, like with it, just to explore what's on my mind at the moment. And then anyway, I literally walked out the apartment. I've not seen a bat for years, and I've not seen one here, and there was a bat literally flew in front of me. And I was like, I need to see what the symbolism of a bat is, and it's all about like going into the darkness, pulling out wisdom from the darkness and stuff like this. And I was like, it's
what's that mean?
Wild. Yeah, I think I told you, I don't know if I did tell you or not, but basically before my bufo experience as well, there was this crow that was just like following me around all week. So I was convinced I was going to die because the symbolism of the crow was like death. But it did teach me a lot about death. But
that could also be a death of a part of you that no longer serves you currently.
Yeah, like if we're in tune, everything is always talking to us. Like say your body is talking to you. When your body wants to rest, it wants you to rest because it's trying to tell you something.
Yes, and it's pushing you to literally sleep. Because recently I've been like, my philosophy with like the law of attraction and stuff like that is I refuse to try and manifest things anymore.
Yeah.
What I personally do is I have a goal and an outcome. So for example, going to Mexico, but I just do the actions that are required for the best outcome possible. Like I'm not trying, like, let's say I want to manifest more money. I'm not saying, right, I need $3,000. I'm like, no, I'm just going to help people so that I generate money. I'm going to post videos so that I get seen. I'm going to, and like I said to you before we jumped on and we started recording, when I started to move into that energy, I was just like, I don't really want to go to Mexico, and I'd love to go and meet a few people out there. Obviously yourself's out there. One of my other friends, he was like, do you want to split an apartment and go halves? I was like, I'm cool with that. And then there's a few more people that I know are flying over, and I was like, I have no control over what you do, what someone else does, but ironically, it's all happening perfectly because I'm just not trying to do anything anymore. And I don't try, I just accept. And like I said earlier about allowing the past to be the past, I just accept everything that's happening to be right, good and bad. And just experience, like when the so-called bad is there, just experience it and be like, well, what can I learn from this? And only recently I got to a point of like, I had no money. I was like, I'm down to my last £100 in my business account. I was like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And literally when I just sort of admitted that and I just said it and I wasn't scared of it, because before I would have been like, no, you have to say, Max, you're a millionaire. You're a millionaire. You're a millionaire. It's like, that's stop BSing yourself. And when I just sort of admitted that and I was just open with it, and I was like, look, I always find a way. As soon as I said that, 2 clients straight through the door. Well, 3 clients straight through the door. One's just prolonging it. And I was like, what was I worried about? And I was really worried. Like I said, I was really worried, but what was I worried about? The universe has got me. It's got me. And it seems to be the same with you. Like you're leaning into the dark. How can you have that? Because that's a scary thing, to lean into the darkness, to lean into things that are scary naturally. How do you do that, Leighanne?
I mean, I'm in this mess at the moment, so whenever I talk about things I'm presently in, it sounds so chaotic, because it is, but this is how I'd express it. So something that I'm curious about is that, like, what leads people to do these things? Because I truly believe that everything is conditioned, like, or suppression.
Right.
I haven't experienced to the depths of that for me to be able to talk on that from a place of experience, you know what I mean? But I have a knowing. So I'm like, okay, what about the people who have experienced it then and have come through it? Like, how do they view those situations? So the reason that I'm comfortable to do it is, one, because I know that any state that I put myself in is a choosing, and I also know how to get myself out of it.
Interesting.
I know like how to, so I'm not scared of it. So say for example, one of the conversations I had the other day was like quite dark, and I could feel whilst I was like, it's only a conversation, you know what I mean? But like whilst I was kind of entering it, and I have actually and I wouldn't recommend this to anybody whatsoever. Like, you know what you're capable of, like, you know where you're at. This is only something that I'm just exploring at the moment, but I did on a plant medicine journey intentionally go down that to experience it, to kind of like just to know. And it wasn't nice, like it was really heartbreaking, it was a really hard experience, but I did learn a lot from it, and then I prioritized my health and stuff afterwards. And I don't know if I do that again, but for me, like, the reason that I do it is because I just believe that if we can have more compassion for the whole spectrum and have compassion and understanding, then maybe we can actually do more to support like these people that fall through the cracks.
Definitely.
You know what I mean? Like me, and I don't know if that's going to be part of my journey in the future, and that's why I'm building awareness on it now. Potentially. I honestly don't know, but that's how I can do it, because I really believe that with compassion and love for everybody, we can heal a lot. And I think that sometimes the people on the lower end of the spectrum fall through the cracks, but that will also affect our reality, you know. Definitely. So I'm just curious about it, and I'm passionate that I just truly believe that change is available for everyone, no matter what your past looks like.
Definitely, because and that's why in my book I wrote about it, like, manifest a perfect life despite a painful past. And because I don't think that, like, if you look at anyone who is the best of the best at what they do, and an example is Cristiano Ronaldo, just because I watched a video of him the other day, and someone said to him, was Lionel Messi the reason that you're the best? Did he push you? And he just went, no, I'm the best because I believe I'm the best. Yeah. He's like, I'm the best because I put the most work in. And he's so sure of it. And he's like, and he's talking to the reporter, and he goes, you should believe you are the best reporter. He's like, why not? And whether it's naive or not, like, as long as you're not from a place of ego, you're standing from a place of like self-empowerment. As long as you're not saying like I'm not going, oh, I'm better than Leighanne at what I do. It's like, no, not at all. Like, I'm good at being
I'm the
Max.
best at being me.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And
what's wrong with that? That's great.
Exactly. Like, the world needs Leighann Regan. The world needs a Max Hindle. They don't need two of us. They need an individual, because someone that does not like my stuff is going to absolutely love your stuff. And ironically, you talking about the dancing thing, I think that's how we connected, because I think we were following each other on Instagram, and I saw one of your dancing videos, and then I just went through your page, and I was like, your vibe is awesome. I was like, I want to connect. And then you were like, come on the podcast. And then we started chatting, and then you were saying about Mexico. And I was like, that's so aligned. And yeah, it's beautiful how the universe opens things up when you dance. Do you know what I mean? It literally opened it up when you danced. And you were just in your purpose. And that's probably what was so appealing about it. I could just see that there was no judgment. It was just, I'm just being me. I'm just being me.
Yeah. And like, in terms of like personal darkness, just to kind of touch on that, what you were saying as well, is that the present moment is where the magic happens. Like, everything can be created in the present moment, but only if you are present. And being present means acknowledging all that is.
Yes.
So if you lie about your past, you're not acknowledging what is.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Like, if you're not looking into things, and just, that's why I did a post again. It's not easy to do that, especially if, and this is kind of what leads me into even exploring it for others, because if you've done bad things, if you've hurt people, if you've told lies, if you've like made mistakes and shit, like it is hard. It's so much easier to pretend that there's a reason. No, I mean, I'm not saying that it didn't all work out for the best, because that's not what I'm saying. Because I believe that as well. I believe that everything that you do ultimately leads you to a better understanding of yourself and how you can move forward. But you have to also recognize all of it. Like, be true to yourself. Like, compromise myself there. What did I learn from that? Why? You know what I mean? And be with it. And it takes a lot of time. You know, so for example, when I was here, there was, obviously I've got rid of everything that I own. So to lie to myself that there's no way that I regret that at that time felt like a lie, because there was a very real possibility that I could potentially regret it. There was a very real possibility that I would learn something and think, I shouldn't have done that. There was a very real possibility. And I didn't, instead of bypassing that with like, oh no, it's all going to be good, I actually sat with it and I was like, okay, what's present? So what I do is like, my first step of anything is awareness and acknowledgement.
And putting your hand on your heart.
Chaotic, I can see you doing that. I like kind of give myself some love straight away, because I'm like, this is going to hurt, but you're okay, I've got you. And it's like, what's here? And I like to voice record, because sometimes I do write, but I like to voice record because it's just as it comes up then. So I'll just be like, okay, I'm worried that I might regret this. But equally, like, I know, you know, I'm excited about where I'm at right now. And that this happened and this happened and this and this. And, you know, and you know what, Leighanne, one day you might realise that you maybe didn't need to do that. And that's okay. And you're here right now. And if that ever happens and you decide you want to go back and start that, you can do that at any point, but you will have new awareness because you've gone on this experience and you've committed to this, and look what you've learned about yourself. And it's like, okay, and then you get to a place of like true where you're at, all the things. This is the truth of what I'm actually in the present moment, and like the external present moment rather than the internal present moment, but just being honest about where you're at, and then being like, okay, with all this awareness, how can I integrate that into what I want to move forward with? Just move forward with it.
That's beautiful. That is beautiful, because you're not, because I've got a big and I always say, like, I was the worst for toxic positivity. I was the most toxic positive person you'll ever meet in your life. Like, and that's beautiful that we can, like you said, you can admit that. Like, I would never suppress anything I've done. Like I've said, I used to sniff cocaine. Like, I used to spend all my money on cocaine. I used to kick wing mirrors off cars for no reason. I was just a nightmare. Like, there's no reason for it. but I had my bad karma come back, and my wing mirror got kicked off my car. So I was like,
this is the thing, you harm you, don't you? That's one of the lessons.
Exactly. But it made me realize, and so many things, like I stole from people, I've stolen from people's houses, like at parties and stuff like that. And then I had people steal from me. So I'm like, I've served my bad karma, and I'm totally okay with that. And it was on my healing journey where that bad karma started to come back when I had no money. And I wrote about it in my book. I sold a pair of shoes that they're now worth like 650 quid. I sold them for like 150 quid. And the guy said, can I have a refund? They're not brand new. And I was like, yeah, cool. And he just blocked me after I sent the refund and didn't send me the shoes back. And I was like, oh, for God's sake. So at the time I was full of anger and I wanted to go. I found his address. I found that he was selling the exact same pair of shoes with my pictures on his Instagram. I was like,
oh, wow.
So I was like, I want to go and brick his house. I want to go and throw bricks for it. But then I thought, this is my healing journey. And this is when it is most relevant to come up. Like, you say you want to heal, face your demons. Like, you've done bad stuff. And that doesn't mean that you're a bad person, because I don't believe I'm a bad person. I was just a misguided person. And that's relevant for our journeys, I think. And like you said, it's got you to where you are today. And life is 100% just a journey of unfolding, continuously unfolding. And I believe,
and it also,
go on.
Sorry. It also shows what's like, because just because you did what you did, you can take ownership for that, but you can also go like, what does it show me about what I care about? What does it show me about what exists in the collective? Like, because if at any point you've had to lie, what beliefs sat behind that made you think that your truth wasn't valid in that moment? Like, what was society telling you? What was the collective telling you? And then this is the more you can investigate yourself and be with yourself and ask deep questions and try and get to the source of it, you can find like incredible meaning and move forward with that meaning. Like, there's that quote that's like, and I really like it, it's something like, I can't remember what it's, something like, the greatest power is finding meaning in life's biggest disappointments, or something like that.
I've heard.
And so that's like absolutely the wrong quote, but it's something like that. Never get anything right. But yeah, you know, like, you can sit with that and be like, okay, because I really don't believe that there's one person on this planet that hasn't made some kind of mistake, because the world has so much conditioning, you know what I mean? Like, there's just no way. And if 100%. You are, like, I need you on my podcast because you are a saint, and how have you done it?
It's not
no,
possible.
We all make mistakes. And that's how we help other people to recognize, like, that's what we do, you know. We take our lessons and we take all of our experiences and what we've learned, and not judgment, and because we all do the best with the ability and the awareness that we have in that present moment. So how can we increase other people's awareness in their moments so that they could potentially avoid these mistakes or have better awareness when they're making choices? And that's how you find meaning, and that's how you
100%.
even out the karma, you know, like, that's why we're here, and it's all part of the process. So it's so I feel comfortable. I know when I'm ready to lean into like any spaces like that, and I think I feel comfortable to do it because I know that on the other side, however long it takes, whatever it looks like, is a much better version of me, and a much, like, I can show up for others in a much more powerful, honest way.
Love that. That's that, again, it's beautifully put, because like it really is like you could have everything taken from you, money, people, like friends, everything like that, but who you've become can never be taken from you. And that's what I truly love. And even just like taking it out of like the spiritual stuff that we're talking about, there's a guy who I follow who's like he's worth hundreds of millions, and he just sold one of his companies for like 80 million. Incredibly intelligent in the business area. And he was just saying about, like, in business, you've got to just sort of admit where you're at and just be okay taking risks and realize, invest in your skill. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, all these skills that you've acquired over lockdown. So like, was lockdown a bad thing? It was bad, but there's good to it as well. So like, we've had these conversations, and we know what I know what I believe about it, and I know we're sort of on the same lines of it. but there's also some good in it. And I was exactly the same. I actually, selfishly, I didn't mind being in lockdown because it actually made my business easier. So I didn't really care. But for the greater of humanity, it's a bit more of a bigger risk. But those skills that you've acquired, the skills that I've acquired, like all these things, no one can ever take them away from us. And like you said, that ayahuasca experience, you'll never forget that. Those mushroom experiences, you'll never forget that. These, like, even just great experiences you've had where you've had those sort of aha moments, you'll never forget them. And that is creating Leighanne as a person, and that's creating Max as a person. And I just find that is beautiful. It's such an incredible thing.
Showing
but I
up
just
for yourself as well, isn't it? You know,
exactly
kind of showing up for that. It is a nice feeling when you feel like, you know what, I went through something hard for me to get out the other side and show up as a better version of me. Like that's really, like,
incredible.
it's such an amazing feeling.
Yeah. That's it. And I just wanted to say, so before we dive into sort of where people can find you and whatever, what is coming to your intuition right now that you need to share with someone listening to this?
I would say, if it resonates, but you know best, that if you know that there's anything that feels, if anything's coming up for you right now that feels uncomfortable, or if there's fears that things are changing and you're trying to hold on to it and you're concerned about the future, I would say to know that whatever happens next, and trust that it's absolutely in your best interest, for your highest good, and know that that is true, and whatever falls away is just not going to serve what your potential is. So don't shy away from it, you know, connect with yourself, tell the truth about where you are in this present moment and what it is that you want to move into, and get started on that journey. And the thing is that, like, in this society, and this is kind of why I did it as well, is that we have this like weird, because I'm 35, and we have this like idea of what we should be at a certain age. Right? So it's like people around you won't get it. I sold a business where I was taking 10K a month easy. I could have done like loads more. Had a house that I'd spent 2 years renovating. My boyfriend had built up a business thing. We literally walked away from everything, sold every single thing that we owned apart from one suitcase and a laptop and a mic, a little ring light. And, you know, people can think whatever they want to think about where you are right now. They don't know who you're going to be. They don't know what you're going to become.
So
do you know what I mean? Like, not many people do this. So, like, honor what you want to move into. Like, don't worry about what, you know, the external world thinks. Like, you've got you, and it's all going to be good.
Well, that's it. When you get to your deathbed, you're going to go, well, at least I tried. Do you know what I mean? Like, what worst case scenario, you're going to say, well, at least I tried. At least I'm not going to go wondering. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's in itself is a huge thing.
Yeah. And we always have the power to shift. Like, me and my boyfriend have this saying where we like, until it stops making sense. Like, and that's just kind of how we approach everything. It's like, what do we want? Let's move towards it. Okay, when it doesn't make sense. And it's not that it doesn't make sense. When it doesn't feel good anymore, that's when we go, okay, what now?
Yeah.
It happens quite frequently.
There's always, it's like one line, it can lead to 1,000 separate lines.
Yeah.
But
it's amazing.
You like, one journey could take you on a whole different journey to somewhere else. And who knows where it's going to take you? Life is wonderful.
Conversation.
Exactly. It could just be a conversation that, even a conversation with yourself, a conversation with someone else that just changes your life, and you end up in Mexico. And I'm sure we're going to connect, and it's going to be a lifelong friendship that we can help each other and help other people and grow something like that. But if anyone wants to find you, how can they find you? Where can they find you to work with you, to listen to you, to get all your stuff?
Yeah, the best thing to do at the moment, if I've got podcasts, so you can check that out. So it's this is the Leighann Regan podcast on Spotify and Apple and YouTube, but there's not as much on there. But if you're interested in learning about my ayahuasca experience, then you can check out my YouTube channel because it's on there.
Amazing.
And then my IG is Leighann_Regan.
Amazing stuff. I'll put it in the bio of the video as well. But is there anything else you feel inclined to share before we end?
No, I just appreciate you, Max.
Appreciate you too.
Doing good
appreciate you coming on. You're amazing. You're a blessing. But yeah, anyone, make sure you go and check her out. And thanks for showing up. Thanks for listening. You're amazing.